Since you are already for sure hooked on dealing with icons and images and other resources, I thought it would only be prudent to continue with that. So in this video we'll talk about the splash image or the splash screen. What is it exactly? Well, as I mentioned earlier, several times in fact, it is a screen that usually contains an image that shows up while the application is loading or starting up. Okay, cool, but what are they exactly useful for? Well, large applications take time to start up. There's often a lot of stuff happening in the background while the application is starting up. And if after starting the application the user doesn't see anything on the screen, that user might get confused and might even try to start the application again, which is definitely something we don't want to happen. One example of an application that uses splash screen is PyCharm. When you start it up, you get a splash screen that has an image and some text, and by looking at that image you know, oh well, splash screen has showed and I guess my application is starting up and I have to wait a little bit. Now even though our application is not really that big at all and will start really fast, it's still useful to know this feature. The first thing you need when implementing a splash screen is the image you want to put. In my case, I just downloaded a picture of clouds from the web because, well, honestly, because I like clouds, so yeah. Implementing the splash screen in Qt is very simple, so we're going to get to work. As you can tell, I already have the blueprint code that will load our application, and I also shuffle things around a little bit. I have this UI folder which contains the two UI files, the generated Python file as well as our Qt designer file. And I also have that downloaded image. Let me open it up to show it what it looks like. It's a nice looking cloud. Let's get rid of it for now. And at this moment you're probably thinking, oh no, another image equals another resource in the QRC file equals recompiling QRC file. Well, no. For this video I'm just going to refer to the file name directly. Alright. So to implement a loading screen or a splash screen, whatever, we literally need just 4 lines of code. That's it. Interestingly enough, these lines of code won't be in the constructor method for our dialog. While that approach would also work, it's preferable to load the splash screen before showing your application. So in between this dialog, creating a new instance of the beautiful class and showing this dialog. So I'm just going to add some space in there right now. And we can get started. Images in Qt are referred to as pixmaps. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of load our JPEG file as a pixmap. To do that, we can simply type, let's call it a splash image equals qpixmap cloud.jpg. Done. Now we need to actually create an instance of the QSplashScreen class, which incidentally takes a pixmap as an argument to its constructor. You get it now? It's pretty simple. Okay, let's do this. Splash is QSplashScreen splash image. Done. Finally, we need to actually show the splash screen, and we can do this by typing splash.show. Done. Now let's make sure that the splash screen waits for our UI to set up itself, and once that's done the splash screen will go away. So I'm actually going to add this method after the dialog has been shown. So it's just splash.finish, and then we're going to pass this dialog, which is our beautiful class, an instance of our beautiful class. Done. And that's it. You've just added a splash screen to our application. 4 lines of code, and if you really like saving lines of code for some reason, you can almost make this a Q-liner. This can be a one-liner, and then obviously you have to do this. So what exactly does this line do? Well, with this line we're kind of telling the splash screen to automatically close itself once the UI has been set up. Now right now our dialogs constructor doesn't really do a whole lot. In fact, it just sets up the UI, so that's pretty fast. So we wouldn't even be able to see our splash image. To overcome that problem, quote unquote, I'm just going to emulate some background task that needs to be executed. First I'll have to import the time module from the Python standard library. And then we'll just sleep for a second. Let's do this. Pass 1 as a second. Now let me run the application and see our splash screen in action. Run, and yay! Do you see those beautiful clouds? I honestly just wish the weather here was as nice, but anyway, you may be wondering, well, it's cool that it waits for the constructor method to execute, but what if I want to hide it earlier? That's fine, of course you can do that. There is also a hide method which is similar to this show method. There's a splash.hide as well. Let's leave our splash screen as it is right now and move on to menus, which are way more exciting than they sound, honestly.